Alright, hey guys, and welcome back. So since I'm done with the previous wave, now I'm going to be taking a look at all of the deluxe figure series that were released in 2021. And I'm going to be starting out with one of my favorite figures of all time, vintage, and also in the new Origins line, and that is Battle Armor He-Man. So one thing I do have to say, I did open this already, so you'll notice with He-Man's second head, that's not enclosed in the blister. So this is as close as I can get it to what the actual on card would look like. Just there's no blister around the head. So right off the bat, like I always say in all of my Origins reviews, I think that the artwork on this is fantastic. I think it's actually better than most of the other figures that we've seen, just because I really like the logo here. The yellow battle armor, and then He-Man, most powerful armor in the universe. Of course, the Masters of the Universe logo, the blue sky, the red bursting rocks, totally typical like we're used to seeing. The deluxe figure set, new for 21. Very awesome that you have Battle Armor He-Man showing some of the damage on his armor on the front of the package. Of course, the modern posing retro play, Starburst, the strike armor to reveal battle damage. Starburst comes with a ton of accessories. You have his battle axe, you have his power sword, you have the lightning little add-on, which I'll show you how that works for his transformation, the second head, the second hand, the Battle Armor He-Man figure, and the new mini-comic, Battle Armor Reborn, which we'll also take a look at in a minute or two. That comes with only the Battle Armor He-Man and the Battle Armor Skeletor. So now let's flip this around and we'll take a look at the back. And see, this is a little confusing because it's kind of considered part of the last wave, but kind of not. You have a great little piece of artwork on the back here. You have Battle Armor He-Man fighting Merman in the swamp, and you can see Herman's sword there cutting into Battle Armor He-Man's armor, and we have Man-at-Arms in the background fighting him off. I don't really see too many Easter eggs revealed here, just some really nice artwork. And then it says, He-Man storms into battle, protected by the mighty battle armor that was crafted by Man-at-Arms. Of course, since we know he's an inventor. And then it shows on the side here, roll drum down with your thumb until no dents appear. Strike armor, a dent shows. Strike again, 2 dents show. Repeat step 1 to repair. So this is actually one of the few figures that actually does have a, an action feature. And what I meant earlier by this as being a part of the original wave, the last wave that I reviewed, is because they show, Battle Armor He-Man, She-Ra, Roboto, so both figures that I just reviewed in the last wave. You have Battle Armor Skeletor, Merman, Zodak, which was my last review, Clamp Champ, Battle Cat, and Panther, and on another card back it shows Ram Man as well. So all the deluxe set are considered, part of the previous wave, even though they don't show it on this one here. And this is a 9-back, which is a little unusual. I mean, not that that really matters, but it's a way for some people to keep track of the different card types. So I think this looks really good, and these figures are really fun. So we'll go ahead and we'll flip this around, and even though I've already got it open, I'll show you everything that you will get with the new figure. We'll take a look at the mini comic, all the accessories, and then we'll do a side-by-side comparison with the original and see how it stacks up. Alright, so now let's take a look at everything that you'll get when you unbox your Battle Armor Origins figure. So you have the Battle Armor Reborn mini comic that comes with the figure, and this is kind of fun. It's like its own little unique mini comic where you have King Randor and Clamp Champ. They're riding on like the attack track through the mountains. And then you have like Man-at-Arms. He's giving the chest plate to the battle armor to He-Man to go and rescue them. And you see Ram Man comes in to help out Clamp Champ, Skeletor, and they're fighting these like the evil hover robots, and you see Skeletor using his like super strength to rip apart the top of the attack track, which that's really kind of uncharacteristic to Skeletor. I've never seen him do anything like that before. Him and He-Man get into a fight, and then like after the 2 hits, He-Man says, "Oh, your battle armor is destroyed, Skeletor. You're through." And very uncharacteristically, you have like Skeletor like, "Mercy, He-Man, please." Like, wait a minute, what? Skeletor is using words like mercy and please? Like, no way. Like, who wrote this? Like, do you know anything about Skeletor? Like, he does not... He doesn't ask for help. Like, this is... No. Like, he would just, like, use his staff and escape or something. Like, he does... And even regardless, he just doesn't beg for help. And he certainly would not say please. So, that's bizarre. And the thing with the battle armor, too, with what they don't know about it, is it's not destroyed after 2 hits. It's just represents damage. Like, it wouldn't be useless. So that's kind of dumb, and I really think that this comic was just really not well done. So it is kind of fun with the different characters, but it's just poorly done. And I mean, you have like the one silver piece Man-at-Arms gives to him, and that's not it at all. It's completely different armor. So I mean, it's a good effort, but it doesn't really make any sense. And then you got the other the figures on the back here, and again, I don't understand. Like where's Ram Man? Like, where you at? You have Clamp Champ, Battle Armor He-Man, Battle Armor Skeletor. So where's Ram Man? He's one of the deluxe figures. So I do not understand that. Kind of confusing. Of course, we get Battle Armor He-Man. We'll go into a little more depth and take a closer look at him in just a second. You get the more vintage-styled replacement head, which a lot of these, I know a lot of people have complained that they go in stores and they see it, they're missing out of the packages. And I mean, if you're doing that, that's such a wrong thing to do. Like, if you're a collector or whatever, and God, I just hope people aren't scalping them. I think that's really wrong. Like, don't be cheap. Spend the $20, get the whole figure, you know, don't ruin it for somebody else. Even though it hasn't happened to me, I feel bad for somebody who goes in their store and, like, you want to buy, you know, the new figure, and then it's like, oh, it's missing half the stuff. So, you know, don't do that. That's not cool. He comes with a second hand. This is a second little gripping hand, so that way he can hold both of his weapons at the same time. This big goofy thing here, this is the lightning bolt that he uses like in his transformation, you know, between like Adam and He-Man. So it's kind of creative, but you'll see this doesn't really work out too well as I try to use it in a second or two. You have the Battle Axe, which I don't like this. I mean, it kind of works with this figure, but it's so cheap. Like, where's the detail? The points, it doesn't look like the depth and the scale it's not scaled right. So just really cheap, very very badly done. And the Power Sword, which is fine, but again, these are also very flimsy and cheap. I mean, they're not bad, but they could have just put a little bit more meat on them, so that way they're easier to hold, because when you go to put them in their hands, they tend to just kind of like fall, even with the guards. So again, not so greatly done. So let's take a look at the just the figure up close first here. And yeah, so we can see, you know, he's got a new head sculpt, which, if you thought the original Origins head sculpt was bad, wow. I didn't mind it that bad, but this is awful. This like, what is this? This doesn't look anything at all like He-Man. Absolutely terrible. That is just, I hope someone got fired over that blunder, because this just looks like an abomination. That is terrible. You have his chest piece here, which isn't bad, but I got to agree with a lot of people that I see online, is the it's too narrow. I mean, like, it looks okay, you know, with the rest of the figure. But, I mean, would it really have been that hard to just make this, you know, a little bit wider? And I think, you know, that all comes down to, with all of these figures, you know, sacrificing all of this, you know, this whole thing where you pop out. I think his pop out. Maybe on this one they don't, or that's just really stuck. I thought that they did. But, you know, as you saw there, I didn't expect for his legs to come off like that. But they're all about, you know, just interchanging pieces. Maybe that side's stuck. Let me try one more time. No, I guess these arms don't come off, which is really strange. I didn't realize that in the Battle Armor series. Either that or mine are just really stuck. And you have the same range of motion and stuff like that, you know. Regular hand. The colors look okay. They don't look really either too bad or too good. You know, same basic points of articulation. You know, you can move the ankles, you can rotate the shins, the calves, and everything like that. So you got a lot of posability. Even though myself, I don't find the posability to be a big bonus with these figures, because they don't hold their poses that well to begin with. So it's kind of a moot point. Now let's take a look at the little action feature. This actually is done pretty well, I gotta say. So we'll take the little sword here, and it has the nice H logo, which that looks pretty good, I think. And you just give it one tap, and then you got the damage there on the chest for the first time. And there we go, hit it again, and then he's got the damage the second time. So I think that looks good. That's fun, you know. We'll reset that. Now let's take a look at him. We'll give him his axe first. Actually, you know what? Let's swap up the heads. So, this is him with the vintage styled head. And while it's not perfect to the original vintage He-Man by a long shot, that does look a heck of a lot better. So that's a big improvement. Although it just looks funny on this He-Man because his armor looks all wrong. So that's why it doesn't really look right on this He-Man. On the original Origins figure, it looks okay. But on this, it doesn't look so good. So now let's see. Let's switch up his other hand. All right, and then we'll give him his sword first. So you see what I mean? How the sword just kind of like it just flops around in there like that. That's not a good. That's not a good grip at all. And then you go and you put this thing on. And this thing weighs a considerable amount. So it slides over top of the sword. And it really adds a lot of weight that those poor ankles really can't support. You gotta lean them all the way back. And then it just looks awkward. And, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's one of those things where you really can't get it over his head that well. I mean, I guess you can if you finagle with it enough. And it's not bad, but, you know, I do think it's unnecessary. It's just a silly little accessory that didn't really need to be added. And the one thing that is cool that you have his second gripping hand here is that you can give him both the axe and the sword at the same time. So that's kind of fun. Because that's more to like how the original, you know, would have come with an axe and a sword. So I think that's pretty well done. But I think a lot of the other accessories, they're not really needed, or they're poorly done. I think this thing, I mean, who needs this? I never display it. The rest of the figure looks pretty good. So overall, pretty well done. Now let's take a look at a comparison to the vintage, and then I'll also, well, before I do that, actually, I'll show you what the original Origins figure looks like with the new head. So this is my original Origins figure, and he looks a lot better with the vintage resculpt head. That, I mean, they're both the same heads because I bought two, but just it looks very bizarre with this armor. But with this He-Man, you know, with the original Origins, that looks a lot better. Just it looks more normal with the regular armor. So a big thumbs up on that. That looks good. So now we'll do a side-by-side comparison and see how it stacks up to the vintage. Alright, so we've got our Origins Battle Armor He-Man next to our Vintage Battle Armor He-Man. And one thing I almost forgot about is that it does come with the storage for either the axe or the sword on the back of his armor there, which is a nice little feature. So as you can see, there's quite a few differences with the Vintage Battle Armor He-Man compared to the Origins. I mean, number one, the face. While the vintage inspired does look good, the original one, in my mind, I don't think they quite copied that well enough. So the original one, especially with the mouth on the original, that just seems to look more natural. His overall facial expression looks better in the original. Of course, the armor is much wider, you know, and the plate with the H, you know, just the font they use, the coloring, that looks a lot better. Also, the coloring is wrong on the belt, so that should be more of a bright orange. This is just like an in-between orangey yellow. These should be more of a dark burnt red, and they're just kind of a basic brown. So you can tell they didn't even bother to paint the figure right. All they did was just basically, you know, take a bunch of regular Origins ones and just, you know, throw a different waist on, throw a different head. So that's really cheap. That's really poorly done. It's like, design a whole new figure, make it look correct. You know, don't half-ass it. That really gets on my nerves. The weapons, there's absolutely no comparison. The original vintage sword, this has much more nice plastic width to it, so that way it's, you know, he's able to hold that a lot better. We'll compare that to the Origins sword here real quick. And so this is the Origins, this is the Vintage. And, you know, this is a little bit wider. And it just, I don't know, just something about this just looks nicer. This just has a nicer look to it. The details stand out more. And then you can see the hilt. Let's see if you can see it better here. Kind of hard because they're opposite sides, but you can see what I mean. See how much wider that hilt is? That's why he's having such a hard time holding on to that, and why this is just such a better weapon. Like, so how much money are you saving shaving, you know, 1/16 of a millimeter of plastic? You know, it's just that's so cheap. You know, you can give him this, and you know, like, wow, look at that. That's suddenly such an improvement. It's not falling out of his hand, and all because you didn't skimp on the plastic. So I don't understand the cost-cutting measures that Mattel is using. I mean, of course not, I guess. I'm not on their marketing team or anything like that, but it seems like you're not building for a long-term brand, even though the Origins line is very successful. Your true diehard collectors like myself are going to notice these problems, and it's a shame to see that. Like, let's take a look at the battle axe. And you think there was no comparison with his power sword. See, again, the ankles, just like with Zodak, like these ankles are terrible, and then you can see the vintage figure is having no problems whatsoever standing up, and then I have to fiddle with this just to get that to stand. So here's the two axes, and the vintage is a little bit larger. I don't think that's a big deal, really. I think the big deal comes into just look at the design. Look at the designs overall on the axe. The way the tips are rounded, all of the lines, even the lines in the handle. If I can get that to focus there. And it's just, how much could that have possibly costed to just use a mold to where you would see a pattern on this. I mean, how cheap do you have to be? This looks terrible. This looks like something that would come with some generic knockoff toy, and just awful. That is absolutely awful. Again, like my same complaint with Zodak and everything, we'll turn these guys to the side, and we'll lower his arm here. And again, just look at how crazy the shoulder joint looks. And then if you're looking at it from the top, you have this big gap in the top of his shoulder. And it's just, to sacrifice for the interchanging pieces and stuff, I think it looks really stupid. I think that's a terrible idea, and they should have just kept it one solid part and then maybe just remove the hands and stuff. So again, really, really awful. And then let's take a look at his battle damage feature. And same like the other one. 1 and 2. Let's look at them both when they're damaged, as we've already seen them when they're in their normal mode. So now obviously there's going to be a difference in size. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's the battle damage isn't that bad. I mean, considering the size and the scale, I think it looks good for its scale. So not bad. That actually looks okay, even though the rest of the armor really doesn't look that good. You know, they could have made that a little bit wider, but I guess the execs at Mattel just, you know, they want to be cheap and cut costs and sacrifice, you know, originality to their fans, which is a shame. So anyway, that's going to be my review for the 2021 Battle Armor He-Man. I know this review was mainly negative. I'm really not trying to be negative about it. Overall, I do think it is a good figure for the Origins line. And myself, I am trying to complete the entire Origins line. I still like it. I just don't like it as much if I'm going to put it up next to the Vintage. And then when I see the little shortcuts that they took, you know, overall his sword is good, but why couldn't someone in quality control test that and see, look at how loose and wobbly that is. And just realize, like, wow, hey, that might be a problem. And then, you know, this isn't even in his grasping hand. That's not moving at all. You know, and the little things on the shoulder, making that a 1/4 inch wider on each side, putting some lines on the axe. You know, those are some problems that I have with it. Overall, I do think it's a good figure. I think it's good to pick up just to have an extra head for your Origins figure. That's kind of why I bought, you know, a duplicate, just to have one to have an extra head for my original Origins He-Man. So I do think it's a good figure. I just don't think it's a great figure. If I had to give this a grade, I would probably give this maybe a C+. I think that's probably fair, like a C to a C+. I do think if you're collecting for Origins, definitely still pick it up. I see in Walmart now there's a lot of the Battle Armor Skeletors and He-Mans that are in stores. So it should be pretty easy to pick up and, you know, definitely add it to your collection. So anyway, guys, thanks for taking a look at the 2021 Battle Armor He-Man Origins figure today. And I'll see you again soon for another Origins review. Until then, take care, guys.
Hey guys, if you liked the video that you just watched, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below, and you can follow me at Facebook at King of Retro or Twitter at #8ByteBrian. See you next time.